Okay, thanks everyone for joining us on KRTD Chat. Here with us today, we have Case from CaseStudyQB. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, what's going on? How you doing, Shane?
Good. How are you today?
I'm good. Living life, loving life.
So the first thing I wanted to ask you about is how did CaseStudyQB come to be? What was the story behind that?
Yeah. So, I've been a political junkie for many years, man. Going back to 2008 or 2007 when I Ron Paul got me into politics. And from then I was obsessed. And then I give credit to Tom Hartman. He's a radio host that he used to just debate Republicans all the time. And he brought me over to the left by listening to him debate. But to make a long story short, I used to always send my dad political clips. And I thought to myself, hey, maybe and I don't know if you hear echo or is it just me? Like
I hear one too. I'm not sure what it is.
Okay, all right, no worries. We'll push through it. And basically, I used to send my dad a lot of clips, and I thought, hey, what if I made an account and send the clips to the community, to the progressive community? So I started doing that on YouTube initially. And what I used to do at the very beginning of the primary, I used to create clips, and then I would edit the clips. So I would look for all the AOC clips for the month. Now, this is before the primary even started for 2020. So it was very far and in between that I would find AOC clips, Bernie Sanders clips. So I used to be able to like clip them all together for that month into one video. So and that was a service in the sense that if you wanted to see all of AOC's appearance or Bernie Sanders' appearance for that month, you would watch that clip and you would see his interviews and all this different stuff. So I used to clip it all together. But then over time, I used to get a lot of copyright strikes. So it's like with that cloud hanging over my head, I knew at any moment the channel could be taken down or something can happen. And it's like all this work for nothing. So one day, somebody in the comments said, hey, you should do this for Twitter also. And I was another social media thing to do. I'm good. But I said, you know what, let me just try it. And I tried it and I started to find more success on Twitter than on YouTube. And at the time, the assurance that I wouldn't be canceled or the account deleted, I didn't hear too much about that coming from Twitter. Unfortunately, as you probably know by now, right now, Twitter is like, I don't know if you would call it a shadow ban, but basically they have me behind a disclaimer when I put out tweets, which is unfortunate.
Oh, definitely. So, do you still find clips of things? Is that still? Do you still do that?
So I don't do clips on YouTube anymore. I deleted all the clips, even though they had a lot of views, man. Some of them 70,000, a lot of views more than I get now. But I deleted all those clips because they all had copyright strikes. I deleted all of those, and then I started doing my political junkie show. Then I had I do Progressive War Room, which is basically progressive strategy, and then I used to do a show called a New Jersey show. I used to do a New Jersey show once a week, and I don't do that as much, but I still do the progressive, the people's. I still do political junkies once a month, every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There we go. All right.
Okay. And you have your new project, the People's Gauntlet. What is that?
Yeah, so the People's Gauntlet, that came to fruition during the political junkie show. We were talking about how Colin Allred, and I did a separate clip on Colin Allred. It's called "The Hidden Case of the Fallen Justice Democrat," and it talks about how Colin Allred, he was a Justice Democrat, and then at some point, I don't know what happened, if it was on his side or if it was on the Justice Democrat side, that they parted ways. But the moral of the story was he was for Medicare for all when he was running, but then once he got in the office or once he got past the primary, he dropped Medicare for all. So I was thinking, like, how did they vet this guy? I don't want to disparage Justice Democrats. They were a brand new organization at the time. People make mistakes. We're going to make mistakes, but as long as we learn from them. But I was like, I was curious how they vet. And, there's a lot of great organizations out there, Democracy for America, Justice Democrats, all these different organizations that are trying to get Congress to be more left, right?
Mhm.
And we all, some people have problems with them, some people don't, whatever. But there's not an organization out there where it's literally the people are deciding who gets their endorsement. So that's the basis of this idea is candidates will come to the People's Gauntlet. They'll go through the topics. They'll be publicly be vetted, in out in the open. Anybody will be able to go to the website and see them in person, answer all these different questions on Medicare for All, Green New Deal, expanding Social Security, Palestinian versus the Israel conflict. So there's a variety of topics that we'll be able to know ahead of time before they even run. And hopefully we'll be able to get incumbents, who are in office to do the People's Gauntlet. That'd be great. But we'll be able to see where they stand on all these topics. And it's not black and white like you would go on an issues page and you will see all of the topics, how they feel about certain things in black and white. You can actually see them passionately talk about these different topics, and you can really feel if they're really into it, if they're not. And definitely the variety of progressive topics, you really be able to gauge how progressive a candidate is. What's up, Hollyhorn? PJ is in the building.
Right. It says this will be a good one.
Yeah. Yep.
So the People's Gauntlet. So is this exclusive to progressive Democrats, or can Republicans participate? Can Greens participate? Libertarians? Who's allowed to participate?
Very good question. And if you want, I could give the audience a sample of the new website. But let me answer this question first, and then if you want to, we could do the share screen, and I'll do that. But I want this. The People's Gauntlet is not a partisan organization. It is a left organization, though. I want to put emphasis on that this is a left organization. So the topics that are going to be and every cycle, I'm hoping to we could hopefully take away some, because hopefully we accomplish them or switch them out. But we're going to decide the gauntlets at a certain point before the next cycle. But it's going to be topics that the left cares about, and so anybody, there's a candidates page that's going to has a section for Democrats, Green Party, Republicans, Movement for a People's Party, and non-affiliate. Anybody would be able to do the gauntlet, because my idea is I'm hoping to build an infrastructure where we can actually have a Republican who, whatever you want to call it, a populist Republican or whatever, progressive Republican, which is an oxymoron, but especially with the strife that's going on right now with the Trump and the establishment Republicans, if we have strong infrastructure right now that a populist Republican, whatever you want to call them, could sneak in there, and just need 33% of the vote, 34% of the vote in a very red district. Let's talk strategy now. I'm not going to be super unrealistic to think, anywhere. Let's think of a super red district, gerrymandered for a Republican, and where, there's no way a Democrat could win. The only way, somebody that can vote, that would vote for Medicare for all, that's what I'm thinking about, right? And you can't come to Medicare for all from a conservative point of view. Medicare for all is a lot cheaper than our current healthcare system. So there is a way to come to Medicare for all from a conservative point of view, and I think it would be interesting to see if we can get an infrastructure in place, which would be through the People's Gauntlet, that progressive could galvanize. You have to build coalitions. It will have to be a certain percent of the Republicans. You have to sell them on it, and then hopefully there's enough, blue people there that we could build a coalition and get somebody just through the primaries. And once you get through the primaries, if it's a super red district, that's it. You get a person that would vote for Medicare for all. So the type of situation we have right now, where we have Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin is holding up the reconciliation bill. What if there was two, Josh Hawley, if he was truly a populist, he might vote for this, and you wouldn't need a Kristen Sinema in that sense. So that's the kind of situation we would like to get. Go ahead.
Yeah. Shane. My favorite thing about Kristen Sinema is, she used to be a Green Party activist. I love that.
Yeah. That's the scariest thing to me, because as somebody who does believe in electoral politics, which is obviously doing the people's gauntlet, I would have to believe in it. That's something that's really disheartening. You know, it could be really deflating. A lot of people was deflated in the past with some of the actions that AOC has taken, and then they just check out and say, you know, I'm never voting for Democratic. And I don't necessarily believe in that. I believe that we got a strategy. Again, I love thinking strategy and progressive strategy or whatever, that we got to put all options on the table. That's my point of view. So, yeah.
Now, you like talking strategy, so I want to ask you.
Yeah, let's talk.
You probably haven't seen this guy's show. This guy's name is, he's on our network. His name is Joe Firestone. He's MMTer. He does a show a few times a week. He's going to go on tonight. He came up with a strategy. When Force the Vote was coming on, he came up with something different. He said, what if instead of forcing the vote, we blocked Pelosi entirely and we just removed Pelosi and called it a day? All you'd have to do is block her round after round after round, and you need 6 people to do it, or 6 to 10 people to do it. You block her round after round until she just gives up. And then you say, here are the people we are willing to consider to fill that seat. If you're willing to put one of these up, we'll vote for them. If not, you're not getting our vote for that. So it was a different take on Force the Vote. It was forget just getting the vote on Medicare for all. Get rid of Pelosi if you're going to go through all that.
Yeah. So who would be the people that we would put up?
Some of the people that you could put up would maybe be Debbie Dingell. She's her family is very good with Medicare for all.
I know Debbie. Yeah,
Debbie.
I like Debbie actually.
You know, Debbie Dingell, Barbara Lee. There's a whole bunch of them. They wouldn't let. I mean, the conservative Debbie Dingell though is a good strategy-wise because she's pretty progressive, but they don't see her as a radical leftist person. Yeah. They see her more as she's also a member of the Problem Solvers Caucus for whatever reason. So they don't see her,
which is
I'm not a fan of. But
I hear you.
That lets her slip through.
No, I hear you. And that's somebody, you know, it would have to be, it's all about building coalition. If we're talking strategy, right? You got to build coalitions. And Debbie Dingell, like you just said, being a part of the problem solver, I agree with you. That's a problem. It's problematic. But if she's going to get a certain percentage of those votes to become speaker, then it might be playing 3D chess. Now we're playing 3D chess. You know what I'm saying? So that would be interesting. I would be interested in seeing that happen. The biggest issue at the time about getting Nancy Pelosi out was that nobody knew who would replace her. So I'm hoping that at this point where we had a whole, you know, we're going to have 2 years by the time the next speaker, and I think Nancy's supposed to be stepping down. I don't know. We'll see.
Supposed to be.
Supposed to be. And then if she steps down, I wouldn't be surprised if Hakeem Jeffries is going to be trying to get that spot. So I would not want Hakeem Jeffries in that spot. So I would love, I don't know. I would love to ask. See, this is the problem with the squad. One of the issues that I have with the squad right now. And I'm not one of those fraud squad kind of people, but they don't talk to independent media. And we need them to talk to independent media for many reasons. But one of the reasons is in 2020 and in 2016, what killed us? Mainstream media. If anybody knows, that is me, right? Watching mainstream media. They killed Bernie Sanders' campaign. So we need to bolster up independent media and get them on the same level, if not greater, so that they can combat mainstream media lies and mainstream media narratives, right? How can that happen? If AOC was regularly going on whatever independent media she wants, TYT, SAMC, or whatever she feels comfortable with, but if she was going on there once a week, Cory Bush was going on independent media once a week, Jamal Bowman, any of these was just fostering up and building up the independent media, because now mainstream media is going to have to use clips from independent media. I've seen it happen already. We've seen TYT interview Bernie, and I saw that clip on like CNN where they have to pull like a quote and put it on. And now you're making independent media more legitimized and also giving them publicity, right? So we need to be able to. I need our new progressive members. I know it's not the squad now, but we have a new cycle coming in, and I'm hoping that we can get them to go on mainstream media. One last thing, and I'm gonna give the mic back to you. There was a guy that went on. Remember, I said Tom Hartman brought me over to the left from being a Ron Paul. And I wouldn't even say I was a Republican. I was just mainly a Ron Paul fan. I was a Ron Paul person.
So libertarian?
Yeah, so you could say libertarian, because I still have libertarian views and ideas, but I was brought over to the left from Tom Hartman. There was a guy that used to go on Tom Hartman's show once a week and just answer questions for a whole hour from his audience. And that guy was named Bernie Sanders. So Bernie Sanders used to go on this guy's show. It's called Brunch with Bernie's, and he was called American Senator because he would answer any question from anybody in the country. And that's what we need right now. I know Bernie's super busy. This guy, he's on another level stratosphere than when he was back then in 2008. So he's busy, but we need the squad and candidates that's on that level to be able to come back to independent media. And I would love to see them even take questions straight from the audience, but unfortunately, it's a dream at this point to even imagine that.
Yeah, the other thing is Bernie also used to be the Democratic Party's outreach chair. Now he's the budget chair, so it's a different position. That's why we're not seeing so much of Bernie right now, because it's not his job to go on TV right now.
Yeah.
Before,
Holly Horn.
Yeah.
She said, Case, you're more tolerant of the squad. I love Holly, man. Holly, we gotta have you. Would you be willing on the show? Let me know. We gotta maybe bring you on the show at some point on my political junkies or something. But we gotta do a show with Holly at some point. But anyway, I'm sorry, Shane. Go ahead.
Yeah, Holly's great.
Holly's great.
Yeah. So there's a whole host of strategies we can look at. Why don't we look at a couple? What do you think about even changing things locally? So in California, let's just look at California. They had about 45 Greens elected somehow, but not on the federal level, on the local levels. They were able to get these guys.
Oh, really? That's really good. That's really good.
They had a mayor for a while. They have city council seats.
Okay.
So they're able to. So maybe the strategy is, and let's talk, this is third-party strategy for a minute, but what about if the Greens can do that in California, maybe they should focus more of their time on local elections before they build up to a presidential election and try to take a couple of town council seats, a couple of city council seats.
I totally agree with you. And I'm going to try to bring up my special look at the new website while we chat. So I'm trying not to be rude, but you just mentioned something that it's an idea that I have with the People's Gauntlet that I'm hoping to build up, and I'm going to give you, this is some open strategy with my people in the audience right now, some inside baseball stuff. So the idea with the People's Gauntlet, I want to be able, the status you have is once you do all 5 gauntlets, you become a people's contender. That's the status you become, right? And then as of right now, the idea is for the candidates to reach that final step, which is becoming a people's champion, right? So becoming a people's champion, you're basically getting an endorsement, like that endorsement, like how Justice Democrats would endorse a candidate. So Democrats for America would endorse a candidate, right? So I was thinking, and I'm still haven't decided exactly how this would work. And you guys, we could talk, Holly in the chat, let me know what you think. But I'm thinking as of right now, when let's say you have District 1 in California, and that same district is the district where the Green Party is very strong, right? Normally the Democrats have the advantage, right? So let's say you have the People's Gauntlet, you have a Green Party, you have a Democrat, and you have another Democrat running in that district. So 3 people. Now they're running. And it's time to vote and to decide who's going to be the people's champion, right? Now, because this particular district is such a green stronghold, what if the Green Party gets the nod to become the people's champion, right? The idea is, if you do the People's Gauntlet, the idea is whoever becomes the people's champion, everybody else in the race, drop out, endorse the people's champion, put all your resources behind the people's champion, tell everybody, hey, this is who we're supporting. We're doing what Obama did in the 2020 election for Biden, and consolidated the moderates and got Biden to, push him forward against Bernie. The idea is to systematically do that at every single district at the Senate and the House level by consolidating the progressive. So I was thinking about, should it be done at the party level or should it be done amongst all the different parties? So what I mean by that, should we, in District 1, should we have a people's champion for the Green Party, a people's champion for the Democrat Party, right? So now there's 2 people's champion. I think it would be more powerful. I'm leaning towards it's more powerful if you have an agreement amongst all the leftists. So let's say there's a socialist, there's the Green Party, DSA, Socialist Alternative. Let's say there's 5 candidates, and then you have that one person that wins the people's champion, and everybody else drops out. Now you're really putting a lot of strength behind that one person. Whether it's a Green Party candidate that the Democrat, everybody has to come around because, like in that case, is a green stronghold. Or for the most part, what's more likely, let's just think strategy, let's be realistic, throughout the country is mainly a Democrat is going to get that endorsement, right?
Yeah.
So what you think? I'm going to throw it to you.
I think that you should make it like that. And I think that I think that you should do one people's champion, because if you do more than one, it's going to split. Look, I don't mind. It's going to split the vote. And I don't necessarily mind when it's third parties, but with the thing you're trying to do, you're trying to avoid that. So biggest goal is to do that. And I think that
so it's like go ahead.
Parties can use this to strategize. They can create that stronghold that you talked about. You know what? We can't win the People's Gauntlet this year. But you know what? If we keep running, if the Greens, let's say, we keep running city council candidates and we keep flipping these seats locally, you know what? Maybe in the next 3 years, we can take that people's champion to Congress.
There you go. That's an actually great idea. That gives incentives for. I'm really hoping, like, I'm hoping to talk to a Green Party, and I think it might have to be done locally first before going to the national and getting them on board. Because I would love to get even we talk about Justice Democrats, Democracy for America, all these different people. Even though to a certain extent, I'm trying to create a competition org with them, but of course we're all progressives, so we want to see progressives thrive, and so I would be more than happy to collaborate with them in some way. But of course, this is a grassroots focus initiative, so we're going to stay as close to the grassroots as possible.
So are you guys? So has this been registered? Is this like a 501c4?
That's a good question. Haven't done any of that yet. I just registered the website, but hopefully nobody copyrights People's Gauntlet. Otherwise, we're gonna have to change it to another name. So nobody out there think about it. Don't think about it. But
that you need the 501c4 because that's the only one that can endorse candidates, I think.
Oh, really? That's the only one that can do 501c4. Now, is that a PAC or something? Does that make you a PAC automatically, or what? Do you know?
No, that makes you a politically active. Well, 501c. You could also become a PAC, but a 501c4 is a nonprofit that's allowed to do educational things and endorse political candidates and get involved politically, and then you could go the PAC route, which also allows you to. But for a PAC, you need to raise money.
Yeah. So as of right now, I don't see. There's too many accusations of grifting and all this stuff right now, so I'm not trying to even think about money. I would rather just go with the 501c4 route. Yeah. And go in that direction. And just I'm glad you brought up that question though. I really have to think about making it official and like copyright. I don't know if I would copyright the name or just incorporate the name through a nonprofit, but I have to do that soon. I'm not making any money. Everything that I paid for the website so far throughout my own money. So I'm hoping at some point I'll be able to put a donation page, but that's basically the only way as of right now I see the organization getting money, because candidates will never pay to join the site to do People's Gauntlet and to have a profile on the People's Gauntlet website. That will never happen. This is a grassroots movement, so we're trying to make the barriers of entry as low as possible so that you don't need a ton of money, or you're not going to need any money at all to have.
Now, what if you're not on the ballot? You're going to have to do something there. If somebody's not on the ballot, so let's say I apply for the People's Gauntlet and I didn't make it onto the ballot. What happens?
So if you apply, I think how it would work is anybody would be able to log in. Eventually, the site is going to work that you can log in. You can click you want to be a candidate, and then you have to do the 5 gauntlets. The only way you go on the site is you have to do the 5 gauntlets. So once you do, you put in your links for each gauntlet, each video, you can join the site. Now, I might have a spot on the profiles to state if the person's on a ballot or not. So people will be able to decide, right, who they want to vote for. If the person's like, you're saying if the person's a write-in candidate, is that what you're saying?
No, if the person, let's say they were trying to make it on the ballot and they came up short and now they're not on the ballot.
So then they would be a write-in candidate pretty much then, right?
They would probably be a write-in unless they didn't even get that. So this is the person who never got the status to be a write-in. They were a few signatures short of becoming an actual candidate. They're not on the ballot, period.
So that's something that I would want to specify so that the audience will know the status of the candidate. You know what I'm saying? Like they would have to know that if I'm going to vote, give my grassroots vote to this person, I got to understand if they have a chance to win or not. And that's going to, I'm sure, be part. There's also going to be, there's going to be different statistics. I don't want to say too much because certain things might happen, certain things might not happen. But what I can envision right now is that candidates, the amount of volunteers, like you'll be able to see for each candidate. So let's say if it's somebody that signed up, let's say they even got on the ballot, but they're just not doing the work, you'll be able to go to their page, even though they did all 5 gauntlets. If they're not an active candidate, going out there, knocking on doors, giving out flyers, etc., I think that you can translate that or see that translated into how many volunteers that person has. So I can see that being a statistic that if you're looking for a candidate and if you're looking at a district and you see 5 different contenders in that one district or in your district, you would look and say, okay, let's see who's the serious candidate. Say, okay, wow, this person has 100 volunteers or that person has 0 volunteers. What are they doing? Okay, let me look into that person with the 100 volunteers. That's how I think the reasoning will be.
So on the profile, you'd probably have stats like how many volunteers they have, if they're taking corporate money or not, how much money they've raised, if they've run before, things like that are probably going to be on the profile page.
Yeah, I would love to have some breakdowns like that. If they have a campaign manager, like who's their campaign manager that you could click on, or even if they have other people that's part of the team. I think that's important too. To
endorsements,
see a candidate. Endorsements, exactly. Endorsements. Armani Oakley, who's the very first People's Gauntlet candidate and contender, but she's a contender right now. She did all 5. She's a brand new Congress candidate, or she was endorsed by brand new Congress. So that would definitely be eventually on her page. Matter of fact, while we're talking about it, I'm going to try to share my screen. And,
go ahead. I'll have to add it to the stream. So once it comes up, you won't be able to see it right away. And I'll have to do some magic.
There you go. It should be available for you to bring it up.
Okay, let me bring it up.
All right. Perfect. So this is the new site. It's going to have a homepage. The candidates page is not done yet. So it's not, but this would be the page that you can kind of search for districts and search by party. As you can see, this says over here, it says Democrat. It says Moving for People's Party, Green Party, Republicans, non-affiliate. And then here's a services page so that as of right now, maybe I'll show a sample. I'm doing the videos pro bono right now, but I'm thinking that in the future, because I can't do 535, congressional seats in the House and Senate. I can't do that personally, but I'll charge a small fee and I'll do it for those people. But as of right now, I'm trying to get the initiative off the ground, so I'm doing it pro bono right now. And then here's Brooke Hines. She's a great progressive political consultant that I interviewed before. That these are basically services. Here's a great progressive political poster. David Fadul and Kayla is also a campaign consultant. And I created the services page because candidates running for office, especially at the grassroots level, there's so many people that when you run for office, they're just trying to get money. They cost a lot of money. And maybe they're good, but they just cost a lot of money. So I'm hoping to create a page so that grassroots candidates can at least reach out to people, get a lower cost, less expensive services, and and get some help. So that's the idea around that. Then the about page tells you how to join, tells a little bit about us. But here is, I'm going to click on Amani's face. And then this is the most powerful part. This is, each candidate will have their own page, right? So it will be peoplesgauntlet.com/Amani Oakley in this case, right? And then it has her, this is her banner, her avatar. And then here are the 5 gauntlets: economy and well-being gauntlet, justice, democracy, domestic policy, foreign policy gauntlet. So by default, of course, it's on economy and well-being gauntlet. And it's going to talk about student loan debt, tax reform, fair trade, expanding Social Security, federal jobs guarantee, etc., etc. So this one has 10 topics, while everything else has about 6. So here's another one. This has 7 topics. So this is Justice Gauntlet, includes third reconstruction, reparations is on here, gun reform, etc. Democracy, digital democracy, voting rights, choice voting, freedom of the press, that's like Julian Assange, and whistleblower rights. And then domestic policy, Medicare for all, strengthening clean water, ICE and immigration, amnesty, etc., etc. And then foreign policy, Israel-Palestine conflict, Department of Defense audit, military spending, nuclear weapons. And I'm just going to click on one. You're probably not going to hear, but you'll see that. Boom. I don't know if you can hear or not, but can you hear by any chance?
Very low.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing we could do about that.
That's all right. You don't need to hear it, but as you can see, when you click on that topic, it goes straight to that topic, and she talks about how she feels about that topic. So that's the whole idea. You could bring it back to me, and that's the whole idea around having a public vetting of these candidates. Because if you think about it, how I would imagine, I don't know exactly their process for a Justice Democrat or for a Democracy for America, but you have to go through a vetting system. So I would imagine you would, say, sign up a form, say, hey, I want to be vetted. They send you a form, you fill it out, and then you have an interview, maybe a couple of interview process, Here, you see the topics, you come to the people with how you feel. With their face-to-face, you're not writing it down. You're expressing how you feel, so people can see your charisma through the way you answer. People can see how you feel, and if it's robotic or if it's not, So I think it's a more powerful way for candidates to interact with their audience. And if you're expecting to get money from grassroots, you're expecting to get volunteers from grassroots, then you need to do the People's Gauntlet. You need to do something for the people, and this is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to bring up a picture just for fun. I'm going to have you react to this.
Okay. Yeah. So you got to get her out at some point. Time for her to go.
Do you recognize where that picture is from?
Yeah, the freezer from her, like, I don't know how much it costs, but it's a very expensive ice cream and a very expensive freezer.
Yeah, her two $30,000 freezers.
Yeah. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know. Can I see oh yeah, I can see the comments. Okay, cool. But anyway, if you want to talk strategy, I don't know if you have any more questions for me. And somebody, before I go into that, somebody did ask in the tweet when I tweeted that I was going to be on your show, and I said, hey, ask me any question. They asked me how I could stomach watching mainstream media, and it is tough. I have to say it is tough. I enjoy watching political news, period. So I watch a lot of independent news and I watch mainstream media, but the tough part is when they're not covering political stuff. So when they're doing fluff news and a lot of things that I'm not really interested in, like when a celebrity dies or somebody like that, it's like I'm not interested in that. So it can be tough at times, but for the most part, I enjoy it.
Absolutely. So in regards to mainstream media, I want to bring up a video here. You'll recognize this immediately, but I want to get and then let's go back to strategy after I show you this video.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility.
The news site Deadspin recently produced a mashup video that went viral and unsettled many Americans.
Plaguing our country.
It exposed how America's largest broadcaster forced its local anchors to read an Orwellian script. The Sinclair Broadcasting Group demanded its local anchors recite the same lines, demonizing media and sowing distrust, with warnings like this.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
What's worse, if you actually watch Sinclair's programming, you'll see they violate almost everything they warn against.
So far, no hearings on the big uranium deal.
That's right. That's a Sinclair host promoting the debunked conspiracy theory that Hillary Clinton gave away 20% of America's uranium to Russia.
That could involve kickbacks to the Clinton Foundation.
Oh, and here's another segment alluding to the baseless...
I'm sure you've seen that before.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I mean, it's St. Clair Company is absolutely horrendous, and I think that we need to decentralize news, period. I think the future of news is what a lot of people are doing, what you're doing right here, which is independent news, allowing the people to find someone that they enjoy getting news from and watching them. You know, I really think that if YouTube wasn't, stifling the algorithm and like what they've been doing, a lot of our favorite progressive shows would be a lot more popular. And I'm hoping that they break through, whether it's on, I don't know, Rumble. Jimmy Dore just went to Rumble. TYT's on YouTube. What else is out there? Odyssey's out there. Rockfin is out there. So I'm hoping that we find a home that is not going to stifle us, but put us on the same level as mainstream media and let the free market decide. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. So when we talk strategy, what do you think about this? So this is actually something Kyle Kulinski came up with. Well, he didn't come up with it. He understands some of the rules of the Senate, and he was able to determine that a senator could actually block any piece of legislation they want. Now, the Republicans have used this, like when Ron Johnson blocked the $1,200 checks. Mm-hmm. His thing is, why can't Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or one of these guys use this in order to get something they want passed? The same way, basically say to Chuck Schumer, we're blocking this until you give us a vote on this bill.
Yeah. Well, we heard Bernie Sanders said that himself recently. He said on the reconciliation, he was making the argument that Joe Manchin should try to should vote and negotiate and come up with a way to vote for the reconciliation, because he said, hey, if it was up to me, I would say to Chuck Schumer that I'm not voting for this bill unless it has Medicare for all in it. And, the first thing I thought was, hey, yeah, Bernie, you should do that. But yeah, right. I understand where he's come from. He's trying to, and I'm hearing this a lot also in mainstream media where they say, oh, the progressives are the more pragmatic segment of the Democrats right now. And that's why Bernie is trying to is going to go along with the bill for the most part. I mean, he has been fighting for the 3.5, but the reason why it went from 6 to 3.5 was because he negotiated, and that's the reason why Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders is not doing that, because they're trying to be practical, apparently.
Now, here's another thing: why not start at the $6 trillion, put that bill out there, and then negotiate? Then let Joe Manchin think he's negotiating when it gets down to $4 trillion or 3.5.
Yeah. Well, if you honestly, that's what happened. That's exactly what happened. Bernie started off with the $6 trillion. Then they came to a decision behind the scenes that they will come down to 3.5, and then they were going to pass the reconciliation bill and the bipartisan bill on one track together. But something that I don't hear enough from the mainstream media is that moderates reneged on that deal. It was supposed to be on the same track, and I'm sure the progressives said, okay, you guys are going to negotiate the bipartisan bill. When you're done, we'll negotiate the reconciliation. But the thing is, once they finished negotiating the bipartisan bill, they said, okay, let's go. Let's pass this right away. All right, guys, let's go right now. And the thing is, if they passed it, and they passed it in the Senate, if they passed it in the House and the Senate, then you're not passing it on that one on two tracks. You're not doing it at the same time, and that takes away the leverage for the reconciliation to be passed. So what you just said, they did. And matter of fact, there's a quote that Joe Manchin had that he said, "Oh, we can have a bill that's $3 or $4 trillion." He said this early on, remember? And then he also had a quote where he said, I think he talked about the $3.5 trillion and that they were negotiating that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but what you said was the plan. And then the moderate started with Josh Gostheimer or something from New Jersey, my state, that and the 9 moderates that said, "Oh, let's just pass this bipartisan bill right now. You know, it already passed the Senate. Let's just get a win. Let's get a win." And nobody, I don't think they ever hit home, or at least the mainstream media just forgot or was like, we're not going to talk about it, where the moderates are the one that are reneging on the deal when they say that they just want to pass the bipartisan bill first. Go ahead.
Do you think that the progressives in the House, now Pramila Jayapal has said, she's the chair of the CPC, she has said that we want to, if it's either both bills and this one at 3.5 trillion, or it's no bills. Do you think she should stick to that? And do you think they have to be willing to shoot the hostage if they're not able to get what they want?
Well, I gotta say, I love what Pramila is doing. Like a con that I did not like was I was watching TYT one time, and they said, yeah, Pramila, she came on the show, but then she's not coming back on the show because they were critical of her and maybe something that she did. And it's just so sad to me how like finicky and how sensitive our politicians are when they get into Congress. It's like literally high school. Like if you do something, if you say something they don't like, they're like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you no more. And obviously I have never seen her back on TYT. So that I disagree with, but how she's handling herself right now is, and the Progressive Caucus, I should say the Progressive Caucus, because she's the leader, but she can only do what they would allow. Like if they all said we're going to vote for it, then she can't do anything. But right now the Progressive Caucus is sticking together. Therefore, they're telling their leader, hey, this is what's going down. So I would say that part of her spine and being able to knock Nancy Pelosi back and say, hey, we're not voting for this bill, is part of the Progressive Caucus having that strength. And I think they should hold tight. I also like her quote that she came out recently where she said that you always hear from moderates saying, hey, something is better than nothing. And she actually said recently, no, something can be worse than getting, like crumbs is worse than getting nothing. So we're going to make sure that this bill has substance in it. So I agree with her and that sentiment, and I'm rooting for them to do well.
So should they block both bills if they let's say they put this one back down to 1.2 trillion and say, all right, let's pass them both?
Yeah. I would say block it, and this is the funny part. And I mean, there's so many different narratives or things that's not coming up in the mainstream media. They want Joe Biden has a moderate agenda. You know, they like to say it's progressive, but we progressive, we want a $10 trillion freaking human infrastructure, right? So anyway, it's not progressive. It's a moderate bill, Biden agenda, moderate president that's getting blocked by the moderates, and they want to get saved by progressives. Like they keep asking progressives, hey, isn't something better than nothing? Why don't you just vote for the bill? No, just vote for the bill. Instead of putting the pressure on Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema. So if I was a progressive, I'm like, hey, don't come to us. Moderates, you guys got to decide that amongst yourselves. You go ahead and you decide when you come to a conclusion, then we can talk. But we're not going to save you behind. That's how I feel about it.
Exactly. Now, do you think that Biden could do a little bit more Now, Biden is no FDR. Let's just be clear about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing FDR was known for, when he wanted to get his New Deal passed, he twisted some arms. He said, you're going to vote for this, or I'm going to go campaign for your opponent for certain things. He was really You think now, as much as I dislike Biden, I'm not really thrilled with him. He has a decent, even after everybody was upset with him with Iraq, and some people liked, not Iraq, Afghanistan. Some people liked it. His approval rating went down. It's still pretty high for a newly elected president. He could go to Joe Manchin. He could make him a deal. He could say, you know what do you want in this bill for the people of your district? I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Very simple.
Now, the problem is that Joe Manchin is completely tied to the coal industry. So I don't think that's how you would cut a deal with him. It's what does the people want, because he doesn't care what the people want. You know what I'm saying? Like, the people want what's in that reconciliation bill. They want free college. They want child care. They want all the different things that's in that bill. So he doesn't care. That's not how you get Joe Manchin. I agree with Kyle Kulinski when he says you have to go have your attorney general or whoever go after his wife, or is it his wife, or his daughter for the fraud, right? The fraud or the EpiPen scandal and all that stuff, and say, hey, listen, we're about to put your daughter in jail. Now, I would cut a deal with you. And I know this is kind of getting to the dark arts of politics, but if you had a LBJ, for example, he would probably pull something like this, right? And said, hey, listen, we can cut a deal, or you can, and I will go back to the 3. He wants it down to 1.5 trillion. If you're making me do this to you where I have to come out and threaten your family, then we're putting this back up to 3.4. We're putting this to 4 trillion, and you're going to vote for it. You're going to like it. That's how I would approach it. Kristen Sinema, I have no clue what that woman wants. Honestly,
you don't even need her. What about horse trading with some of these Republican politicians who are going to retire in the next couple of years?
That's actually a very interesting. I never thought about that. I can't imagine that they would even want to vote for a reconciliation bill.
You give them something. You give them something. What's his name?
If they're retiring, what can you give them?
Well, there's one guy, he's 90-something years old. I forget his name. Ron something. It's all Ron something.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So he's retiring.
Ron Portman? Ron Portman, right? I think.
It might be Rob Portman. Maybe Rob Portman. There's another guy. There's a couple of these guys. What you give them is, you make them heroes on their way out of the Congress. You
don't
say,
care about that.
You don't care about that. But what Joe Biden can do is he can say, you know what? I will get, this is something, believe it or not, Obama did for one senator to get him to vote for something. He gave all the coal miners in that state he gave them all Medicare for all. He gave them Medicare for all in order to get a vote. And this senator came back looking like a hero. Because
Obama did that, you said?
Obama did that. He gave this Republican senator who wouldn't vote for something, or it was a Democratic, very right-wing senator something, in exchange for their vote. He said, I'll give the coal miners Medicare for all in your state.
And that's for a vote on what?
That I don't remember. It was something this person didn't want to vote on. But you could use strategies like that. You let them.
I would love. First of all, Shane, if you could send me that, if you find the article and tweet it to me later on, not tweet it to me like in public, but DM that, I would be very interested in finding out more about that. And I didn't say I don't care. I said that Republican's not going to care about getting something from a Democrat. Things are so divisive right now. I think he would that would hurt him more than anything. Like, Republicans.
Maybe, but if he's retiring, it doesn't matter. He might want to knife Mitch McConnell on the way out, and that's what he gets from it.
You're talking about somebody like a John McCain, and I would agree with you if we had a John McCain. But can we even think of anybody that would want to knife? What's his name in the back? I can't think. Mitch McConnell.
That's a good question. Maybe Mitt Romney. Maybe. But maybe
this is the only thing that I can think of, right? We desperately need high-speed rail in this country, right? And I was thinking that if you can convince somebody who cares, a Republican that cares about the trains and stuff like that, I would say, listen, the Hyperloop, because that's what I would want to get. If we're going to do high speed, I would want to do the Hyperloop, which is the latest technology of high-speed rail, and that would jump us all the way ahead of all the other countries. I would say the Hyperloop international transit line in America would be named after you. And from this day forward, it will be named, let's say Ron Portman, let's go with that example. It'll be called the Portman Transit Line or something like that. And that's how you leave a legacy. And I think that's how you might be able to sell somebody leaving on that idea. What you think?
I think that could work. I think you have to give them what either you appeal to their ego or you give them something they want. As long as the thing they don't want doesn't hurt people. Like if they want you to vote to cut Social Security in exchange for it, maybe you don't do that.
No,
but
we're
if
not
they
doing
say, hey, can you name it after me? Or hey, can you do something specifically for this group of people in my district? I don't got a problem with that.
I don't have a problem with that either. I would say, hey, we're going to create a 100-year contract that is guaranteed that we're going to keep this name in stone. You know, you can't say something's going to stay forever, but I would guarantee that for the next 100 years that would be set in stone.
Exactly. There's plenty of different things we can do with that. And there's go ahead.
I have a question strategy with you and the people in the chat. I've thought about it. When Bernie won Nevada, that was probably the biggest, most glorious time for the progressive movement. That was his third contest that pretty much he won. You know, the first one was kind of between him and Pete. But anyway, Nevada, it looked like he was going to be the candidate. Now, I was listening to Faz. I think he was on the Kyle Kulinski show with Crystal Kyle and Friends. Yeah. And he said that because he used to work for Harry, the previous Senate leader, Harry in Nevada. Harry, damn, why can't I think his last name? Harry Reid, right? So he used to vote, he used to work with him and was close, he was part of his staff or whatever. So, and Harry Reid contacted him and say, hey, and this is after Nevada, before the consolidation. He said, hey, just to let you know, I'm going to endorse Biden. As a courtesy, he's told him that. And then Faz said he knows Harry Reid enough that he doesn't do anything on his own, that was a consensus that other people would be doing the same thing. So he kind of got a hint of what was to come. So this is me Monday morning quarterbacking. So I'm not trying to blame anybody. But I'm thinking like my strategy of trying to consolidate and build a coalition moving forward after winning Nevada, I was thinking really hard. What if Bernie Sanders would have sent a back channel to Barbara Lee, said, hey, we want to make you VP. Send a back channel, see if she would have accepted. If she would have accepted, maybe a day or two after winning Nevada, or maybe even at Nevada, you maybe have this in the works. At Nevada, you say, hey, we're coming out with a unity ticket. I'm coming out with the first Black female president, Barbara Lee. And I think that would have helped, it would have made Obama look bad if he was the person, because at this point, we know he was the person that consolidated on the moderates. But for a Black person, previous presidential candidate, to consolidate people against a Black female president, I think that would have put pressure on him. Now, of course, you wouldn't know that was coming, but I think that might have squashed that. But even if it did, in South Carolina, now where you can choose between Biden and the first female vice president, I think that would have been more up in the air. I still don't know what would have happened, but I think we would have been more competitive. What do you think?
I agree with you. Yeah. I agree with you, but I would have taken it a step further. I would have gotten Warren out of the race and offered her Treasury Secretary, because then you consolidate that vote and you have her come and campaign with you too. You do an event.
I would have did that.
You do an event with Barbara. You announce it. You do an event with Barbara Lee.
Yeah.
You do an event with Elizabeth Warren. Yeah. And you do this big thing. You know what? You bring Marianne Williamson back because she was the first presidential candidate to endorse you. You bring all these people and you do this big event. You even bring back Bill de Blasio, as much as he's kind of so. You bring all the presidential candidates to endorse it.
Let's not get too crazy.
No,
Shane. So let's no. And I'm not even talking about de Blasio, because I'm not sure. Maybe he might have a position in my.
Well, cabinet. He did it. No, I'm saying he endorsed Bernie. So you bring him to that event after Nevada. You say most of these presidential candidates are behind me now.
So this is the point I'm trying to make. Yeah. So I think, and if this is what you're trying to make, then we're on the same page. I would cut those deals behind the scene, because you don't want to, in front of the scenes, tell people right away. At least I would think, that, hey, this is definitely going to be my Secretary of State. De Blasio is going to be transportation or You don't want to do that because now you're giving fodder to the mainstream media to cherry pick these people's background. So hold on one second. I would make that risk with Barbara Lee, right? To say she's going to be our VP, so that people know now, especially black people know that this could be the first female black president, right? But with everybody else, yes, I would cut those deals behind the scenes, and so that they would endorse me. So if that's what you're trying to say, right?
Exactly. Well,
okay.
Well, he was already at that point. He was endorsed by Marianne Williamson and Bill De Blasio. As I was saying, if he gets Warren out of the race too, you bring the three of them, the three former candidates who just endorsed you to that event. Say, look, three former presidential candidates have endorsed me.
Yeah. That's pretty much the opposite of what happened with Beto and Amy Klobuchar and all these people that consolidated in Texas, which Bernie was supposed to win at the time, and that just threw the Bernie Sanders train off the track. So, but again, Faz, who's in charge of the campaign, Bernie's a very, even though he's a progressive, he's a conservative, I think, in the way he thinks. So that would have been something brand new, and I don't think he's capable of doing those type of new things out of the ordinary. So I'm definitely Monday morning quarterbacking. But
and I think with some of them, you can let it slip eventually. Like if you're getting closer to the let's say to the general, then maybe you let it slip that Warren's going to be Treasury Secretary because no, you don't think so?
No, because the problem with this, and it's a trick, because even it's tricky. I mean, not a trick. It's tricky because even with getting Barbara Lee to be the vice president and announcing that, what the mainstream media who's against you don't doubt it that they're on our side. What they would say is, Bernie's getting ahead of the process. Oh, Bernie's he's too, like, he already thinks he has it wrapped up. They're going to spin it in a negative way, right? So you have that risk anytime that you're making these announcements. But I think that it was worth it to make that risk that Barbara Lee is going to be the first vice president, because I think you could garner a lot of black vote, and that the noise from the mainstream media would have been overtaken by that decision, I think. But anything else would be too much.
Well, that's true. You don't want to reveal who your whole cabinet's going to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to, because they can nitpick them. They're already nitpicking
take out lists.
Bernie. They're already nitpicking Bernie with all his Fidel connections and Russia connections and all this stuff. But go ahead. What you said?
You don't say exactly who it is. You do the trick of, I'm putting out a list. These are the 5 people I'm considering, but you already know who it is. But you give out that list. That's sometimes
you're making trouble for yourself. I think you're just making trouble for yourself, man.
Although most of the candidates do that anyway.
I don't know who else does that.
Joe Trump did that when he was going into office. Biden did that.
Trump is a different beast. Biden. So wait, they said that this is potentially the people in my cabinet. I don't remember.
They did that very. They didn't do that until I think after. It was either right before the general election or right after the general election.
Well, yeah, that's a different story. I'm thinking about.
It was the first few. It was like a week or two before the general election. He put out lists.
But I'm thinking about strategy to win the nomination of the Democratic Party. Period.
Oh, to win the nomination, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Makes sense. Yeah. So, I think consolidating the progressive vote was the way for Bernie to go too, because you got to get these people out of the race in order.
Yeah. You need. But there was also a train of thought that Bernie shouldn't have been so radical in his speech at the Nevada accepting the fact that he won. That he continued talking about revolution and and I think there's some validity to that. That at that point you have the progressives in your corner, right? You're not going to lose somebody like me or you. At that point, you have to say, okay, we want to consolidate, build a coalition. We want to reach a hand out to moderates and to everybody who's scared of me or whatever. And they have speech writers that can say it in a more eloquent way.
Well, I think that's when he tries to get a moderate House member to endorse him and does an event with them, trying to reach out to moderates. Maybe.
Yeah. You got to. I mean, there's going to be progressives listen to this that say, no, you never should do that to, reach out to the moderates. If you want to win, it's about percentages, right? And every coalition that you can build, you're taking away percentage from whoever is on that other side. Yeah, go ahead.
When you get to the general, though, I think he can go back to the left because all these regular Democrats are going to vote blue no matter who at the end of the day.
Yes,
but you lose the progressives if you don't go back to the left, and that's where he's got to be careful. In the general, if you go to center, he's going to lose some of his progressive voters.
And by the way, I'm not even saying for him to move anywhere ideology wise. I'm not saying that at all. Like, I'm not saying for him to stop saying Medicare for all or anything like that. I'm just saying that you could change your rhetoric. You know what I'm saying? Instead of saying like, oh, we're going to start a revolution, you could change that type of rhetoric to be, more appealing to other coalitions.
That's true. The other thing is, I think Trump would have had a hard time going up against Bernie in a debate because one of the tricks that he had with Hillary was he ran to the left of her on trade policy in the Midwest. He wouldn't. You can't run to the left of Bernie unless, you got to be pretty far left to run to the left of Bernie.
Well, I clipped the video. I clipped the video recently of an author. I forgot the name of the book, but she was talking about how she doing research for her book. She went to a union hall and she saw a big picture of Bernie in this union hall. And, unfortunately, when Bernie dropped out and went to the general, they voted Trump. They became Trumpers. So definitely if it's between Bernie and Trump, they know Trump is the fraud. They just took a chance when it was him against and Hillary. They just took a chance with Trump. But if it's Bernie and Trump, there's no doubt in my mind that, West Virginia would have went for Bernie along with other red states. There's no doubt.
Well, West Virginia is actually a Medicare for all state. Everybody forgets. He doesn't have the best record, but Robert Byrd, their previous senator, was a Medicare for all advocate. He didn't have a good record on a lot of things. Except for,
I didn't know that.
He was pretty conservative, except when it came to Medicare for all.
Wow.
He had a very bad record, but he was Medicare for all advocate.
Yeah. That's interesting. I did not know
West Virginia. Yeah. Joe Manchin is the complete opposite.
Yes, because even the governor, Jim Justice, I believe his name, when it came to the COVID bill, the first major bill that Biden was trying to pass, like even his governor came out was like, yeah, we need to do this. While Joe Manchin, it took him like 10 hours for them to negotiate, and they were talking about it before he decided to sign the bill or to vote for the bill.
Yeah, Joe Manchin tells everybody he doesn't know who his donors are. So,
yeah, this guy, his interest. He owns oil or coal company. So that's what I was saying before. The fact that it doesn't matter what the people want. He has his own interest.
Well, he also owns a hotel.
Yeah, he owns a hotel, but the carbon. So today he came out against the carbon tax. That directly affects him. So of course he's against that, So
well, he owns businesses. So when it came to the $15 minimum wage, he owns an oil ring, he owns a hotel. Then he's got to pay his employees more. But we got to wrap up here.
If you want to be a public servant, you cannot own businesses. You can't own stocks. We need to make a constitutional amendment that you cannot invest in stocks once you enter public service. Period. You got to sell all your stocks. Sell all your stocks, not put it in a hidden trust or blind trust and all this stuff. If otherwise, don't do it. Don't be a public servant. But if you want to be a public servant, you need to sell all your stocks, sell your company.
Well, Jimmy Carter had to sell his peanut farm.
Exactly.
And so there's definitely a lot of things Bernie done differently. It's a little bit late. Unfortunately, it's late now, so there's nothing we can do about that race, unfortunately, anymore.
Yeah.
And
about which race?
The Bernie race.
Oh yeah. It's done. But
it's over.
We listen. All you could do now is prepare for the next one, right? And that's what I'm doing with the People's Gauntlet. There are a lot of great candidates are running. A lot of great new strategies are being put in place. What I would tell people is to please put everything on the table, and including Democrats, put down third parties, Movement for People's Party. I want them to be successful. I want the Green parties to be successful because back in FDR's day, he had communists and he had socialists, two socialist parties that had over 1 million members that was pushing FDR. So we need, in our day and age, we need Movement for the People's Party to have 1 million members. We want Democratic Socialists of America to have 1 million members. We want Communist USA to have 1 million members. We want Socialist Alternative to have 1 million members. We want Green parties to have 1 million members. And if all 5 of those organizations can come together and build a coalition, we can have a great infrastructure to push the government in the direction that it needs to go.
Definitely. And are you going to do this for president? Are you going to allow for the People's Gauntlet to be for presidential?
Oh, wow. It's interesting. I never even thought about that. I think I'm focused on this cycle coming up, and the next cycle. I would love, I don't want to say anything out the bag, but I'll say this much. I'm about to meet with a person that ran in the Democratic primary, right? So I would love for somebody like that person, like let's say they ran again, to do the People's Gauntlet. That would be awesome. Yeah.
Well, exactly. If you get one person from the Democratic primary to do it, then the others might end up doing it. Some of the Greens might end up doing it.
Definitely the goal. The goal is this first cycle is to build a brand, and it's definitely to serve the people and to try it out. But the main goal is to build a brand of the People's Gauntlet, period, so that people know, oh, if I'm running as a progressive, I got to go do my website. I got to go sign up for the social media links. Oh, I got to go do the People's Gauntlet, right? It's got to be automatic that they know that they have to go do the People's Gauntlet. Otherwise, they're not going to have credibility. We're not there yet, but I'm confident that we're going to get there.
Absolutely. So when do you do your shows on CaseStudyQB?
CaseStudyQB Political Junkies every Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We try to join a little bit earlier to do like a little pre-show, but definitely by 8 p.m. We just got StreamYard. We tried out StreamYard last week because I want to be taking a break. We saw this very good way to produce the show. That's very easy. So I'm gonna let somebody else produce the show. But yeah. So that's when that's our steady schedule. Every so often I would do a progressive war room where I interview a candidate or I interview somebody that ran a campaign as a staffer or a pollster, political strategist, and we talk strategy. That happens every so often. But yeah, that's basically it.
Absolutely. So thanks for coming on today. I'm going to fade us out.
Yeah. No problem. All right. Adios, everybody.
Bye.
Much love.